And at that point, it becomes a reverse auction.
Oh no. Wicked milker.
Or the dad starts like taking
Selling
low
it?
bids
Oh my God.
on this is the amount of money I will pay
Give you to
to
get
take
her
her
the
ass
fuck
the
outta here.
fuck out of my house. Right. Oh, what's up, Airheads? We're back once again, getting 2 weeks deep into 2023 now. It's wild because we're coming to you from the past, but that don't matter. I'm
Not
Trae.
too much the past.
Not too much the past.
5 weeks the past?
Only just a little bit the past. Only just the tiniest bit the past. Yeah, about a month the past.
We talk about paradoxes a lot on this show. Us doing this show because it gets exponentially another week later. I start thinking like, oh, this will be right after this, and this will be right after this. But it's like, no, it's 7 days after this, 7 days after this. And like, that's fucking my head up. Like, again, what if I'm dead?
Yeah, I'd never thought about any of that until the last episode. You said, what if I'm dead? And I was like, holy shit, what if he is dead?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Because the way we do this, you could be dead. We don't need to do the same thing we did last time. Anyway,
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it continues to fuck with my brain that, like, what could have happened in the world? You know what I mean? During all this time.
Your heart could have just exploded. Oh, I thought you were trying to say, what could have happened to make me end up dead? And I was like, a lot of things could have made you end
that's
up
true.
dead.
Grease.
But no, I get what you mean. Like, we don't know right now what might have happened between us in the past and y'all in the present, right? The present.
And
to
because
you.
of
like
how
Russ said earlier when we weren't recording, and it's true. It's like, you know, if we'd been batch recording it, like in the earlier batch recordings, there might have been a point where we're like, dude, you know who hits Kanye?
Yes, that's what I mean.
Kanye, does he not hit? It was
That's
like he
what
does
I mean.
hit.
Dude,
and then we don't know that in the near future he's going to talk about how much Hitler hits for him. And
It
it's
already
like, oh,
happened
shit.
to us. It happened to us. I know, I swear to God, the fucking literal day after the news of Brett Favre stealing money for the whatever, the next episode I go, I'm naming my daughter Brett Favre Jr. Which seemed...
Florida.
Like, we stayed doing that shit, and it's starting to bother me, because, like, I don't know what I'm about to say, and, like, right now, in me and you's timeline, it is a fine thing to say.
Yeah, right.
But in fucking 6 weeks, who goddamn knows, man?
That's the perils of working in the past, dude.
It is.
We've brought this on ourselves by choosing to record only in the past.
Do you know who else lives in the past?
Who's that?
Or at least 3 hours in the past? My wife.
Well, before we talk to her, I want to let everybody know I'm going to be talking about fancy people in trash, auctions, right? Fancy art auctions versus pegs, right? You get it. And then you're going to talk about, you're doing your
John Hancock,
Revolutionary Avengers, right?
My Revolutionary Avengers. We're going to talk about John Hancock. I know why you think you know him, but I'm going to tell you why you're right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Pretty much what you know. You're about to hear it again.
That's what's up.
That's what we do here at Puttin On Airs.
Yeah.
All right, but no. Amber, Mrs. Cho.
I miss my wife.
You miss her, so we're about to all get to enjoy that.
We were about to start, and I was like, I really miss my wife, and I want to call her. And
that's sweet.
I know. And then Russ was like, just fuck it. Just call her on air. Hey, baby.
Hey.
Can everybody hear Amber? Y'all? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that. I know that.
I was like, who are you waiting to respond? Yeah, right.
The people in the room that I'm talking to. Hey, baby, we're recording Puttin On Airs, and I missed you, and I wanted to call you.
Oh, miss you, boo.
Do you really miss me?
Yeah.
What specifically?
Just you being home, I guess.
Okay, it's pretty fucking weak. But anyways, I missed you, and I wanted to call you. Huh?
It is. I am in bed.
Okay, I know, but you still answer the phone. So we wanted to call you to ask you questions that maybe pertain to our audience or what it is that we want to do on this show. So would you mind if I just threw you some softball questions about European history and you tried to answer them as best you can?
Oh, Lord. Well, I'm not gonna know anything.
That's fine, but I need you to. You cannot say I don't know. You have to try to give what you do know about it because you're a second grade teacher, and you should have at least some idea about some things, right?
Sure.
Okay, Amber. Before we let you go, explain colonialism.
Like, what do you mean?
You know how like the British colonized, other areas like colonization, like just, tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about colonization.
Is it not just like communities that were established?
Yeah, but they were
like split up by like your level.
How do you think they were established though? This is really the question.
Some dude decided it.
Yep.
Like the head guy.
Yeah. Not wrong. Not wrong.
That's so true.
Amber, next time I see you, I want to like pull my phone out or something and me and you do a mini podcast where the only subject is Corey. And then maybe maybe we can use that in a future episode or something because I know that's when you really get going. To
be told there.
Yeah, whenever me and you are talking about how much he don't hit, that's when things really start popping off.
We could go on for a while.
Okay, I love you, baby. I was just like missing you out here. We've been doing like 6 or 7 episodes, and I wanted to say hey and make you sound dumb on the show.
Well, I am that, and it sounds like y'all are having fun.
Okay, I love you, baby.
Love you, bye.
Bye. Okay, so Harry has the audacity. Prince Harry.
What's going on with him?
Well, so he's written an autobiography, Trae, called The Spare. Do you know why it was called The Spare?
Because he's like the forgotten royal or something. He's like the spare tire of the royal family.
That's what it's called. You have an heir and you have a spare because the reason
that's like a term they use.
Yes,
there's
the heir and the spare.
Oh, I didn't know
because
that.
Back in the day,
I get it, but
back in the day, like kids would die all the time. So
all the time.
If you are trying to have your son succeed you on the throne,
what Russ found immediately. Prince Harry with a swastika on his shoulder.
It's a choice.
Wonder if that shows up in the book.
It's a choice. So basically, back in the day, whenever you were like, if you're King Richard and you're like, I want my son, King Richard II, to ascend the throne, and you wanted your line to continue, if you had a first child and it was a boy, you had to go, cool. Let's go have several 3 or 4 more boys because of scurvy, falling out, all the plagues that they had.
Coughing to death.
So, when there were 2 royal boys, it was always called, there's the heir and there's the spare.
Okay, I never knew that. But
really?
Yeah, no, I didn't know they actually
called it. It's so rare that
them.
I get to tell you. It's rare that I get to tell you about a spare.
Well, again, you said he called it the spare, and I got it immediately, but I didn't know that was literally a term that like royalty used, the heir and the spare.
The heir and the spare. That's what Elizabeth and Margaret were called.
Okay.
The heir and the spare. Because again...
Okay, well, now that you've put it that way, I feel like I can't really argue with it. It seems like he is the spare, right?
He is the spare, but he's written... And I have a lot of like mixed feelings on this because personally, I like Harry. All right? Mm-hmm. As much as you can like a royal.
Well, yeah, you see that swastika right there.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, great dude. Now, by the way...
Committed to a cause.
By the way, this headline says Prince Harry Halloween 2005 costume claim debunked.
No.
And I don't know what that means.
No. That particular picture was debunked, but 100% it did happen. And I know that because I watched a documentary about the royals and they mentioned it.
Okay.
They were like, basically what it was like Harry, like he was just a young, dumbass kid and was like, I'm going to dress up like Hitler. This will be funny. I'm not justifying that. But you got to understand that these royals are like so insulated that they don't understand how things affect people. So they're just like, I'm going to, Hitler, he's a terrible, like we all find humor in the worst things in the world.
He's on his way to
I ain't never dressed like Hitler. You know what I mean? But like, I get it. Like you dress like DMX inappropriately.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm not saying DMX and Hitler are the same thing.
I'll also say I never did blackface.
Right.
Never. Did I dress like a rapper? Yes, I did. With like a backwards jersey and a baggy jacket and like a do-rag. But I was white. Like, so I was being like a, Eminem type. We had a word for that. You're not that word ain't that you can't use that word. It's the W word.
We call them snow bros.
Snow bros. Okay, yeah. So I dressed up as a snow bro, which you see those pictures, and it's a bad read.
Yeah, right.
But at least I wasn't in fucking blackface.
But my point is
because what you're saying, like even then at 21 in college, going to a Halloween party, even my dumbass white trash ass at that age, like I would have never done blackface.
Of course,
you know what I mean? Like
of course.
Like I knew better than the even dressing up the way I did was ill-advised, but like blackface, totally out of the question.
Agreed, but
so I feel like I would have felt the same way about rocking a swastika.
Maybe. But the only thing I can say is like maybe they're Charlie Chaplin donned a swastika in the movie that he did, and it was just like I'm making fun of this horrible thing, like I'm being goofy.
Yeah, that's a little different, I think.
I agree, but like he's fucking like he's like 16 or 17. All I'm saying is
like I feel like if he put like a fake like bullet hole in the middle of his head or something, you could wear like a Nazi outfit if you put a noose around your neck or something where it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Regardless of whether
But you got to try real hard to make a swastika head as well.
Regardless of whether it was justifiable or whatever, I think that we can all say that 15 to 16 years later, he's allowed to be a different dude. That's all I'm saying. Absolutely. He's allowed to be a different dude. And I, for one, I really respect Harry in the sense that he speaks up for mental health and gives it a platform that his mother was trying to give it back in the day, and nobody would listen to her because she was a lady, and also mental health in the 90s was nothing. But I respect Harry in the sense that like he's speaking up for like, hey, listen, there's a lot of us that are just like misunderstood and yada yada yada. Yeah. But at the same time, it's really super hard for me to like look at a book called Despair and be like, I really feel bad for this motherfucker.
Joe, I'm really sorry to take it here, but I have to.
Is it the hair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I can't help but look at those two and think like they're brothers, right? And so William, it's like, did God give Harry his hair in exchange for William for being the spare? You know what I mean? It's like, you're the spare, but you got hair. You know who ain't got the hair?
Go back to that picture, Russ.
The heir ain't got no hair.
You want to know something else too, Trae, that's going to blow your mind? And I'm trying to have... You see him? Just look at the face.
Yeah.
And then just look at the face. He's better looking.
Will?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
He's better looking, but he don't have hair, so nobody gives a fuck.
Dude, when he was young and still had hair, he was like a teen beat motherfucker. Yeah, right.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, people go, Corey, why are you... Oh, you wear a hat indoors. Hair don't matter. Nobody really cares. Literal fucking proof that it so matters. He was a teen beat Tiger superstar, and that motherfucker had 3 flakes fall out, and everybody's just like, oh, why would let his brother be king? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of his fucking hair. It matters so fucking much.
But like, imagine you had a brother who had a...
My sister!
Well, yeah, but she's a girl.
Right. Has more hair than me.
Right, but that male pattern baldness is a whole different thing from women. Like, if you had a sister, imagine you had a brother.
Women don't go bald. I mean, they do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do, but not near as much.
It's very, very rare. So your sister having hair is not that weird.
Right.
But imagine your brother had a luxurious head of hair.
My dad, until last week, my 65-year-old dad looks like John Lithgow. And you know how low of a self-esteem you have to have for I pine for John Lithgow? And here I am. Yet you say that it doesn't matter. It fucking matters.
I mean,
it matters. matters to me.
I've never said it doesn't matter.
Yes, you... Dude,
No, I haven't.
Trae, shut the fuck up. We've been going places, and I've been like, yo, I go get my hair cut. And you're like, why? And I go, because it's shaggy on the sides, and I don't feel good about it. And, like, I can't really wear my hat in here. And you're like, yo, just rock up in there. And I'm just like, no, Trae, I can't. And you go, hey, man, nobody cares about your bald head. Don't worry about it. Ain't nobody looking at you.
I'm trying to make you feel better.
But
Here's
you're
the thing.
lying.
Okay, hang on. Mostly what I've said is, you have an immaculate head.
Okay.
You have an incredible head. Does he not? His head is the perfect shape. He's got a perfect head. Got a perfect head. And like, because you have a perfect head, like, it's a look. It's a choice.
It's not.
That's a look.
It's not a choice that I make.
It's a look. What? No, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. It's not a choice.
It's not a choice
at all. It was God's choice.
Right.
To do that to you.
Me.
But it's a choice to say, fuck it, I'm rocking it.
And I don't do that.
But you have the head to do it.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
The cheeks come up too far. The cheeks come up too far. I have an hourglass type head. Big, bulbous, little indentations here where my fucking glasses go over. Huge cheeks. Fucking big ass dent in the back of it right here.
You have one of the best heads in the game.
My point is, but none of that matters. None of that matters. What I fucking said was, who's better looking, Harry or William? And then you said, actually, back in his day, William was like a fucking tiger beat person.
Yeah.
I go, what the fuck is the difference? And you go, he went fucking bald. It matters is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that this can't be a choice. What I'm saying is, you can't look at me in the face and tell me, oh, no one has any opinions otherwise on a bald-headed man. Bullshit. He went from fucking Harry Styles to goddamn me.
Yeah, he get to be the king, though.
That's true.
Yeah. That'd make up for a lot of not having hair stuff. Well, listen, that was incredible.
Oh, fuck, we didn't even get into the stuff I wanted to talk about.
You had, okay.
That's fine.
No, go ahead.
Nope, I want to save it.
About him being the spare?
Wait, do you want me to do it?
I mean,
well, we really got into it in terms of like, I just don't feel too bad for him.
Of course not.
But
me neither.
But at the same time, I do feel bad for him.
Okay.
It's both.
He got hair, dog.
You're right. Roll it.
Fuck him.
Let's do the next thing. Yep. All right, go ahead. What's your thing?
Auctions.
Oh, I want to do it. Y'all, everyone wants to save cash this time of the year, and America's Best Value Meal Kit helps you do just that. Every plate is 25% cheaper than grocery shopping, which means you can put the money you save towards, things for your family, an extra cable package or something like that. It don't matter. It's your money. You know, I used to always think that meal kits had to be expensive, but ever since I started with Every Plate, I just know that not to be true. You get the same convenience and deliciousness at a lower price. Also, not for nothing, it sort of helps you learn how to cook and stuff like that. So Every Plate makes it easy to find recipes everybody will love because you can do, it's family friendly, quick and easy. You can do meat and veggie, or you can just do veggie if that's what you're into without committing to one preference. It's tremendous. Don't you love it, Trae?
I absolutely love it. I'm a huge devotee of Every Plate. It's sort of changed my whole game, my whole kitchen game around, I would say. The thing that I've loved the most about it, and I've said this before, but it just remains true, is that I used to always get so mad at myself because I was always wasting food because I go to the grocery store once every week or every 2 weeks, and I'd buy, I'll need this much squash and this much cabbage and this much whatever else, and then you end up not using all of that, and you have to throw it out, and I hate doing that. And with Every Plate, you don't ever have to worry about any of that again because they handle all that portion control for you, and it makes it all so much easier. It also makes you feel like you're really chefing it up in there in the kitchen because you are. I love all of their recipes. I think my personal favorite is probably the cheesy mushroom chicken. That is my jam. Comes with some carrots, some potatoes. What more do you want? I'm a big, big fan of Every Plate, and I would recommend it to everybody who likes to do any home cooking at all. It's great. You can save money. You can save time. They simplify the process. I love everything about it. So here's what y'all can do. You can get $1.39 per meal. I said $1.39 per meal. You can't beat that by going to everyplate.com/trashy. /podcast and entering POA139 as the code. So you go to everyplate.com/podcast and then enter the promo code POA139 to get the Every Plate deal for $1.39 per meal. Y'all, that's up to $134 value. You can't beat it with a stick. You're going to love it. You need to try Every Plate today, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
Absolutely. We love you. And just for the record, my personal favorite is the French onion chicken, but they're all great. Use that promo code POA, baby.
Auctions, like the two biggest auction houses in the world are, and these are fancy people auctions, right? Sotheby's and Christie's, right? And Sotheby's and Christie's both started in London, England in the 1700s. Sotheby's started as a dude selling books, right? And he was like, I got all these books.
Y'all want them?
Right. Come get all these books. What's wild to me is like, there's a disconnect in this timeline because I looked up the origin of auctions and fuck it. I'll get to it right now because I thought it was kind of funny in a morbid way. Because like the two biggest auction houses in the world started in the 1700s. And it was like, the idea of auctions makes a lot of sense. Like people, what? What is it?
I think I might know where you're going with this.
People make, or like people come to, you have a bunch of shit to sell.
Right.
It makes sense to put it all in the same place and then people come there and buy it all at once.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like the idea of auctions, I feel like is very intuitive. It makes sense. But the two biggest
get over here. I got this desk.
But the two biggest auction houses in the world started in the mid 1700s around the same time in London. And in my head, I was like, that seems late to me.
Right.
For people to start doing auctions, like what the hell happened there? So I looked it up. I looked up the history of auctions, right? And it's not. It kind of is what you guys think it is, but like,
well, he thought, then I thought, yeah,
right, yeah, but
I don't know what would make me think that.
Yes, it was people,
yeah,
right, but it wasn't
because of the color of their skin,
and also it wasn't. Initially, according to this, the very beginning, it wasn't slaves either. It was
dates,
women's.
Oh,
women's.
Escorts.
It started with no, not escorts, not escorts. Wives.
Oh, word.
So this is at 500 BC.
Y'all ain't seen this bitch sweet.
500 BC in Babylon.
Babylon. They was famous for
dudes
that.
that have daughters. You got to get rid of them.
Oh, dude, you really do. I mean, you have 7 of them.
You can't have a daughter around once she's too old to take care of the other babies.
There's
or whatever
3
else.
here already folding. What are you doing?
Don't hit. Got to get rid of them.
Go
but
away.
Like, it's hard to get rid of a daughter sometimes. So they had auctions for everybody's daughters, right? They're like, bring your daughters down here. We'll make a hit, right? And it worked. It worked in 2 ways, right? It was, and this is, I'm aware how fucked up this all is. We're all aware of it. But basically, the girls that hit,
right?
They started out with the hitness one, and they went down from there. And obviously, the price for her was the highest.
Right.
Price for the next hitness was the next highest, and on and on. But at a certain point, there's a mid-level where they go from hits to don't hit.
Yeah.
And at that point, it becomes a reverse auction.
Oh no. We could milk her.
Or the dad starts like taking
selling
low bids.
Oh my God.
on this is the amount of money I will pay
Give you
to
get
take her
the
ass
fuck
the
out of
fuck
here.
out of my house. Right. And so that, according to Wikipedia, is the origin of auctions, right? And then,
oh my God.
Yeah. So pretty girls.
Imagine
being on the other
going
end,
there
being reverse
thinking
auction.
like, I'm going to get a big piece for this. Just going to please for the love of God.
I want to record
And then some, right. People are like fucking.
All right, I got my big dumb bitch over here for $1,000. Got my big dumb bitch over here, $2,000, $2,000. Good big dumb bitch going over here. She can't cook, she can't clean, she don't hit. $3,000, $3,000. I hear $3,000. No, she does not know how to pronounce that at all. No, $3,000, $500, $500. Yeah, no, she ain't ever heard of spice. Trust me, it doesn't matter. She don't know how to bake nothing. And you know what? I'll just give you this bitch. All right, here we go.
But dude, some of them you literally couldn't give away.
Right.
Literally. Some of them, it was like, you know, a dude, the bid was like,
Yeah.
I'll take her for $5. Right? And some other guy was like, I'll take her for $3. And the dad was like, I'll give you $3 and her. Thank you very much. You know what I mean? But presumably some of these women, it was like,
Will
the
she
lowest,
shut up?
Yeah. She don't never talk.
Yeah.
She don't know how to talk. You see how much she don't hit? But like presumably some of these women, like the reverse bid was pretty high. You know what I mean? Like the dad got raked over the coals because he's like, I ended up having to pay $1,200 for 1,200 fucking gold doubloons or whatever they had.
Why didn't he just
kill her?
Well, I was gonna kind of get there, but I was gonna say, like, why don't he just like stop fucking with her? He don't have to kill her. He can just be like, you're not my daughter anymore. Like, if you're, my point is, I know that that's morally wrong, but so is selling your daughter for $10,000. So if you're already there, why don't you just go get on the road, bitch?
And the thing is, I'm sure plenty of them probably did exactly that. And I think the ones that didn't, it was just because, like you said, it's like, well, she's still my daughter.
Oh, it's because he still wanted him to go to somebody.
This is what you got to do. Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
I went to a dark place.
No, dude.
It's all a dark place.
I'm certain that what you just said happened.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
And that's how Cracker Barrel got started.
But, yeah, and then also as the ancient Greeks and Romans got into conquering people and stuff, which they was real into, they'd have
what's that all about?
They'd have just hits to take people's shit. Yeah. So they'd take all their shit, and then they would auction that shit off. They'd auction off the spoils of war. Obviously, they took what they needed, their army needed and stuff, but the rest of it, they just throw it together like an estate sale or something and auction it off.
And did that money just go to the war?
Yeah, right. It went to the empire or the dude who was running that particular branch of the war
that was
or whatever.
The economy.
Yeah, and they would and also even back then they would use auctions to liquidate the assets of debtors whose property had been confiscated, right? So back then they'd repo shit basically, and then they would auction it off. So that all happened. But then somehow, for some reason, which is still unclear to me, they even though it existed in ancient times, like people understood the upsides, the practicality of having auctions and stuff.
Right.
Because of that, it's wild to me that it took until the 1700s for the sort of big auction to take hold, right?
I agree with you. Like, that seems like that would have been a thing that was always us. You know what I mean? Like, especially with how much fucking cattle and shit there was back then. Right. Because, I don't know any other way to buy cattle.
All it says on Wikipedia is from the end of the Roman Empire until the 18th century, the 1700s, when Sotheby's and Christie's came around. From the end of the Roman Empire until then, it just says auctions lost favor in Europe, and they had never been widespread in Asia. But I don't understand.
I feel like Asians would be the most fucking auctioning motherfuckers.
Yeah, well, evidently not. But it's just weird to me.
Nothing to support what I just said, but I just feel it in my heart.
So yeah, all it says is they lost favor. But why would something as practical as an auction lose favor?
Walmart is basically an auction that just has a building over it. You know what I'm saying? Back in those days, again,
but you can't bid on stuff. You got to just take it for what they're selling it for.
Yeah,
that's why auctions hit hard. Auctions hit harder on both sides.
Right, the auctioneer could make more, or you could make less.
The buyer thinks I can get a good deal on this, but also the seller is I got people competing.
These people over. Right,
I got people competing, making competitive bids, driving the price up. So it's it feels like it hits for everybody.
I know, and to me, that would have been one of the oldest institutions that there ever was.
I'm saying,
I know, I'm agreeing, but I'm saying, I don't see how it lost favor.
Disappeared for a while.
Yeah, I don't see how it lost favor because, like I said, that seems to me the hittingest way to do anything. That rules.
So then the dude that founded Sotheby's, which wasn't Sotheby, it was a dude named Baker. Then he got joined up with by a guy named Sotheby's, who then somehow took the whole name of the place later. But they started selling books.
$5.99.
It's wild, actually. It's sort of like 18th century Amazon.
Yeah.
They started out with just books, just selling books. It was like, why sell book here, book there? We put all the books together. People that want books come get books.
Right.
And they started doing that, and it was hitting. And then other people had others like, I got paintings. Can you do paintings and books? And they're like, no, we're exclusively books.
Yeah, right.
And then it was like, no, you sure you can't do paintings? They're like, I guess we'll do paintings.
Yeah,
and now it's like mostly art, right? Because art.
That's
so
wild.
expensive.
That really is how that be.
It really is how that be. So, the most expensive things ever sold at auction.
Can you imagine being good at business?
No, I can't. And what's funny is I have a master's of business.
Right.
Yeah, and
I didn't
terrible.
think that you could. And you're one of the smartest people I know.
I don't think about money that way.
What people that are business smart, like I know that we joke all the time about like a lot of these rich people up at the top, they're still dumbasses. But like business smart is a very specific thing.
100%.
And there's some people
100%.
who just got it.
Dude, I'm very jealous.
Me
of people
too.
Like
And
that,
by the way,
I just don't have it.
They might
at
not
all.
have a lot of other things,
right?
But they got that.
Like I've got buddies like I went to college with and stuff that are like, they're just business savvy. They're good with money. It just comes naturally to them.
I'm so stupid at it.
Bro, I don't have any of that.
And again,
it's way worse for me because I literally went to business school.
Right. But I
just did
you,
that just to be able to get a job. I made good grades, but I never it was never my thing, and it still isn't.
I've got buddies who are business savvy, and they've talked to me about me and you about like you wrote the book and they're like, so where'd you do with it? And like asking me about my portfolio and shit. And I'm like, huh? And they were all like, hey man, I hate to be a dick, but you know that you and Trae should already be millionaires, right?
I mean, yeah, right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've done nothing. You bought a lot of sweatpants.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Right.
But what else? And I'm like, but I know that I'm in so many other aspects way smarter than them. Mm-hmm. Other than that, they're just like, whatever. Right. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, but they ain't wrong, though.
No, they're not wrong.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Sorry to hijack you there.
No, that's all right. The most expensive things ever sold at auction. The record was set in 2017 when who else? The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
Mohammed bin Salman.
One more for the underdogs.
Bought an original Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci's Salvator Mundi, right there, for $450 million. That painting right there was 10 Twitters, or no, that's 40. No, that's 44 billion.
Yeah.
So it's not that high, but that painting right there is like 2 mega yachts or like 5 villas, whatever, just for that painting, $450 million.
Can I ask you something about the Saudi Arabians?
Okay. I guess.
How is it?
But
how?
Because generally they don't hit for me. Just put that out there.
Me either. But don't you find them to be like it's wild that how hard they hit, but their country don't hit.
I feel like
that's how it be.
Well, also I feel like that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
we are the only ones that hit.
They got all that oil money.
Yeah.
And like, why not rule with an iron fist?
Yeah.
Why let women drive? They ought not be driving. That's what they think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm back on their team.
You're right.
No, you're right. That of course that makes sense. The ones with the most power, completely plow out the. Yeah. And it's like we don't know who rules
They're not trying
Switzerland.
To give people more rights and shit.
Yeah.
Like why would they?
Yeah. No, I don't know why I asked that. That is so stupid.
All right, number 2 is a Picasso painting called Les Femmes d'Alger, the Women of Algiers. 179 million. That's a nice little painting. Then number 3 is a Giga yacht. Yeah, that's like 1,000. That's 1,000. 1,000 regular
1,000 yachts. Yeah,
it's 1,000 regular yachts. $168 million. Look at this next one, Cho. Giacometti's Pointing Man for $140 million.
Shut
Look at that.
The fuck up.
$140 million. The first 2 art pieces, Da Vinci and Picasso. So I do kind of get it. Now, maybe I'm showing my own ignorance here. Maybe this dude is on that level to some people. But look at that thing, dude.
It's a stick figure. It's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Dude, it's like art. I just can't help but feel this way. It's like we were talking about opera, and I'm like, sometimes the opera, I'm like, these people are doing a
They
bit.
don't know what they're talking about.
It says it was created in just one night.
Oh, no shit.
Well, no shit. Yeah.
Wow. What do you do with the rest of the afternoon and evening?
Right.
Fucking, but yeah, but art is just, like some of it I get, and then other shit I'm like,
yeah, again,
$140 million.
Me and you are realists. Like,
Right.
I think that me and you are like realist arts, and like we can understand that. Like this right here, do you see this?
Beautiful,
amazing,
$200 million, I'd say.
100%.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a diarrhea doodle
Mhm.
will get like 700 billion or something because somebody's just like, yeah,
And yeah. Then you got a rabbit by Jeff Koons. Jeff Koons, again, he don't like.
I think I know him.
It is kind of cool looking, but also I know Jeff Koons is like the modern art guy, I think, or whatever. And I'm sure modern art's the wrong classification. So I guess I sort of get it. But then again, just look at that.
It's rad, but like, I don't know that I thank him for it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And then the rest of these, honestly, and Russ can scroll through them, so you can see them. The rest of these, I feel like I kind of sort of get a little bit. There's a gigantic blue diamond.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Duh.
Yeah. And then later on,
oh, dude, that's fucking
sweet ass car.
sweet.
62 Ferrari, 250 GTO.
Bro.
Berlinetta. And
that's a driving pussy right there.
You can see how much that is.
$48.4 million. I mean, yeah, if I had $48.5 million, I'd buy that motherfucker.
Right.
That is super sexy.
Yeah. And then it's other hidden artworks and stuff. There's a cabinet. There's a nice cabinet.
Is that the cabinet?
Yeah. No, there's the cabinet.
That is pretty sweet.
That's a nice cabinet.
Yeah, that's got a bunch of opium in it.
Yeah. I give $36 million for that cabinet.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
Marie Antoinette's pendant, right? Again, I get that.
Yeah, right.
$36 million is insane, but okay, fair enough.
Hers.
It's Marie Antoinette's pendant. Yeah. Sweet ass rug. There you go. Leaf carpet.
I got one of these from Ruggable.
Yeah.
How much do you think?
My wife is a huge fan of Ruggable.
How much do you think you could sell Steve Carell's tissue for, or something like that?
I don't know. What'd he do to it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did he come in it? Another one right here, Leonardo da Vinci's Codex, right? I mean, that's his actual notes. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's pretty much it. Only a couple. Really, just that little stick figure, dude, was the main one that I was like, what?
I don't get none of that at all.
Right. But so transitioning now into talking about trash auctions and stuff, I was trying to look up some stuff on it, and I found out accidentally that, related to what we were saying earlier, they literally used to auction off poor people. Right, but I don't mean to be slave. Well,
right,
kind of.
They were
slaves,
right,
but
just to hit.
They were more like indentured servants, but paupers. Back in the day in the 19th century, people that were fucking, the equivalent of welfare back then.
Right.
Was the
pauper? Yeah,
was the
you get a pauper's funeral.
The community, the state, or whatever would have a pauper's auction where. It was just like the ugly women earlier. It was a lowest bidder situation,
right?
Where somebody would be like, "I'll take that dipshit who don't hit for $50 a year,
right?"
And then somebody else was like, "I'll take them for $25,
right?"
And the guy who bid $25 would get them. And he has to house this person, but he also can make them do whatever the fuck. He can make them clean their toilet, do whatever the fuck. And the government would give him whatever his bid was. Like the town or whatever, they give him that money in exchange.
Did they have the reverse auction of it though, where they were
that is a reverse auction?
Okay, but I thought they're I have this dipshit, you can have him.
No, it was people that had nowhere else to go. That had already been people would know where to go.
Right,
not somebody that someone else would bring to the town and be like, get rid of them. Somebody that was just out on the streets, basically homeless people. Yeah.
Ain't that better than them just being out there?
Yeah, sure. I mean, hell.
But, I mean, it's gross to talk about. But, sometimes there's people that are just out there and they ain't got shit to do. If we just had a bunch of paupers auctions now, would that be good?
How much would you need to take in a hobo?
What are they going to do?
I guess whatever you want to do.
I mean, I get $300 a month.
Okay. You taking a hobo for $300 a month?
that will do anything, yeah.
Including butthole stuff?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, I think that's pretty cheap. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's kind of, sort of how the foster system works.
Those kids will do shit?
Well, no.
I was about to say, sign me up.
I wasn't thinking about the butthole part of what we just said.
Wasn't thinking about butthole part either. You brought up butthole.
I did when we were talking about hobos. Then I started talking about kids, and you were like, they'll do anything.
That wasn't even the bit that I was trying to do. I literally meant just like pick up after me. For $300 a month, I could have a hobo that lived at my house and got me a Sprite and cleaned up my shit.
Foster kids take unwanted children, and and they get money for it. So it's kind of... I mean, it's kind of the same thing in a way. They just do it with kids.
Oh, I was thinking about buying them.
That's what I'm saying. It's not.
It's reverse.
It's reverse. You're not buying them.
Well, no, it hits harder in this way.
Right. So you can get 5, 6 hobos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give me that Rice Krispie treat.
No, that's what I said. I said it's like the ugly Wimmerns from earlier in the segment.
I'm high, and I totally didn't realize. I thought you were talking about buying people, but it wasn't. It was getting a government stipend to have a person.
Yeah.
Well, goddamn. I mean, that's awesome. Like, that sounds fucking great. Like, that sounds way better than, like,
but again, you have to realize that these people were like, when this was actually happening, these people were fucking abused and mistreated by these people.
It didn't hit to be them.
Right, yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, like, if they were there, they at least had a roof over their head and like some chicken and dumplings and carrots and shit.
But rednecks love auctions too. For example, the Grundy County variety.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Grundy County auction.
I went down to the Grundy County.
Wait. Russ, you know what the Grundy County auction is? Never heard of it? It's a jam. We can't play it on here, obviously.
I can sing it, though.
But, yeah, can you? All right, go ahead.
I went down to the Grundy County auction where I saw something I just had to have. What was it?
My mind told me I should proceed with caution. But my heart said, go ahead and make a bid on that.
So I said, hey, pretty lady, won't you give me a sign? I'd give anything to make you mine on mine. I'd be your bidding and be at your beck and call. I ain't never seen anyone looking so fine. Man, I gotta have her. She's a one of a kind. I'm going once, going twice. I'm sold to the lady in the second row. She's an 8, she's a 9, she's a 10. I know she got the ruby red lips, blonde hair, blue eyes. And I'm about to bid my heart goodbye. Yes, it's a good song.
So that's
it's a wonderful song.
Yeah. So that's auctions. Country song from the 90s about auctions, which hits.
John Michael Montgomery?
Yeah. Hell yeah, John Michael Montgomery.
Yeah.
We talked before about how he was like the closest thing to rap country used to come back
yes,
then,
he was.
He was like super rapid fire.
Yeah,
and shit.
He had bars.
But anyway, yeah, we auction all kinds of livestock, pig, horses, cows, whatever, heifers, as it were.
So many men call their wives heifers.
Yeah,
even if they're not fat. There's like, oh, heifer back home.
My favorite Tinder related thing I've ever seen online, because every now and then on Reddit there'll be like a Tinder post pop up or something. They got Tinder based subreddits, and it was a guy's profile, and he's an old boy, a country boy, Kobe or something like that.
Yeah.
And his bio said it was a picture of him in a field with a bunch of cows behind him, right, doing farm shit. That was his profile picture, and his bio said, every day I take care of 248 heifers, ... looking to make it 249. Isn't that great?
Dude,
it's
I would
great.
suck that guy's dick. Like, was he standing there in front of him just going,
yeah, pretty much.
That? Like, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that is where the line of, like, things that should be offensive, you got to go, I have to give it up to this person.
It hits too hard.
It hits too hard.
Because that was always the rule for me. Is if it's funny enough, if it hits super hard, it can be offensive.
Yeah, right.
And some things to me are just undeniable.
That right
and
there is, it crosses the hits too hard line. Like, that's just like no fucking... unironic, reductress posting writer can say that don't hit.
That's one of those matrix. It's a matrix.
Yeah.
Where it's like the bottom axis is how offensive is it, and the other axis says, how hard does it hit? Right? And the thing just goes straight up the middle of it, where it's like, yeah, if it ain't that funny and it's too offensive, you can't do that.
Hard.
Yeah, right.
And that does hit too hard.
Yeah.
And I know like 4 dudes who come to the top of my mind whenever you say that have gone like, they would make that joke. And I'm just like.
So, you seem to me like you'd be into auctions and stuff, like estate sales or whatever, stuff like that. Sure. Well, so, I mean, are you?
No.
Really?
Well, now.
And like people auction off storage units and shit, stuff like that.
I've thought about it before.
See you being into that.
I've watched, so like, that I'm into going to antique stores and finding the steel.
Right.
It's just never crossed my mind that I could do this, but now that you're saying this, yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason is that, me and you have a very busy, erratic schedule. Whenever I go to an antique store, it's just because, hey, I've got an hour. Let me go do this. Like, going to an auction is a thing that I have to sign up for, get a ticket, know when it is, whatever. But honestly, now that you're saying all this, I'm about to get into them in a way that will economically cripple me. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I look forward
this
to an
sounds
update in the future.
Wonderful. You know how much money I love to just go, fuck that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is about to be a new thing.
Well, again, I look forward to updates in the future, but I mean, we can move on. We need to get on to John Hancock, I believe.
Oh, right. We're going to talk about John Hancock.
History of Professor CHO, talking about the OG signer of things, Mr. John Hancock, right after this.
Hey, y'all, it's Professor CHO. This portion of the podcast is brought to you by parttimefunnyman.com. That's where you can find all my bonus stuff. Bonus podcasts. I write essays. I write poetry. We do videos. I talk about the Civil War sometimes. I talk about a whole lot of other stuff, and it's really fun. There's a lot of different things on there, something for everybody. It's only $5 over at parttimefunnyman.com, but if you can't afford it for any reason, just email buttercreamcorey@gmail.com, and I will comp you, no questions asked. That's parttimefunnyman.com. I'll see you over there. It's fun.
I'm ready. Let's do it. Welcome back, Airheads. It's team.
Oh, hey.
It's time for another rendition of History with Professor CHO. This time on the subject of John Hancock.
Hey.
I'll tell you what I know about John Hancock, CHO. He was the first dude to sign the Declaration of Independence. That's it.
Well,
did he hit? Did he not? You tell me.
That's basically what I know about the summit, too. This is, of course, everybody knows my lead up to the end game event of the American Revolution. But here are some fun facts about John Hancock. Of course, most people have heard of him because he signed his name real big on the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, it's a power move.
It was a very, very...
Was it a power move, or was it like he was first and he was like, I think this is about the right size, and everybody else was like, we can't all do that, or it ain't gonna fit. What the fuck, Hancock?
Are you doing?
It's like, you make like a poster or something, and you run out of room on the last couple letters.
John Mulaney bit.
You're like, this is gonna be
big ass B.
Yeah, like this is gonna be the right size for letters to be, and then at the end, you're like, I made these letters too big. Like maybe he just did that, and it wasn't a power move at all.
Well, we are going to get into that, Trae. So here's the deal, and this is all of this, every single word that I'm about to say is coming from Boston Tea Party, a revolutionary experience.com.
That whole thing?
No.
Okay.
That's just what it said on there. Not everything that I'm about to say, but most people, of course, have heard of the famed politician. If not just for the name, the fact that his name is synonymous with being the biggest fucking, like, my name is huge. So
yeah, it's synonymous with a signature.
His dad died in 1744, right? And so his mama, who was just like, okay, the daddy's dead and it's 1744. What do I do?
Don't hit.
No, it's honestly, I can't think of many years that it's worse for your dad to die.
I mean, I might have to auction these kids off.
Yeah, right. Give me $50.
Yeah, right. No, I might say how much money I'm going to have to spend to get rid of these kids. Like, goddamn.
So, that's kind of what happened. John Hancock's mother, she felt she was too poor to raise the children. She sent little John to live with his wealthy and childless aunt and uncle. So it's sort of like a Harry Potter situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And she then died. Right?
His mom died?
Yeah, the lady.
Okay.
The lady.
So she sent him to live with his aunt and uncle, and then she died. She promptly died.
Yeah, she
well,
was
at least
just
she got
like-
him over there first.
Yeah, so that didn't hit. And
No, that don't help.
and then yada yada yada. He's a child. He's in the colonial times. He had a he had a fixation. Can you imagine? Can you guess, Trae, what his fixation was as a boy in the colonial times? The thing that he spent so much time doing.
Jacking off?
Well, it's almost the same motion if you really think about it. Running and
Hitting
a
horse?
No, a hoop with a stick.
Are you joking?
He's the one that invented that shit.
Okay, all right. But did he really like doing that?
Yes, that he came up with that.
No, he fucking didn't.
So basically,
you're doing a thing right now.
When John Hancock was a small boy, he
invented the stick and the hoop.
He did it
That's
with like
famous.
I know.
How would we not know about that?
I agree with you. It's the only thing we don't know about John Hancock. But
we don't know anything about John Hancock. I feel like it should be the only other thing we do know about him.
Well,
like I feel like everybody be like, how the first guy signed
no
in
one
the
can
Declaration of
prove
Independence? Well, you'll never believe this. The stick with the hoop? Also that guy.
But no one can prove it. He used to go out when he was a kid, and he had a little, like, the corn stalk, like the teeny tiny sticks or whatever like that. And I just got an email. That's from Reddit. No, it doesn't hit. Watch this Chinese girl get her butt exploded. Yeah, thank you, Reddit. And he used to go out and he would have this corn stalk, right? And then the wheels that he had was just like corn stalk that they would tie together, that they would usually make for like a woman would, like, it's like a wreath type situation.
Okay.
And he was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just go out there and I'm going to hit like this. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did it a bunch and everybody was like, that's the ticket right there. Yeah, exactly. So he also apparently in his childhood, one of his best friends was a feller named by the name of John Adams. And
yes.
You remember John Adams?
I do, yeah.
Isn't it like, so like, here's what I don't understand about the revolution, or not that I don't understand this, but it's almost like everybody goes like, oh, these men hit so hard. And it's like, only because, though, they were all in the same area. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of these dudes did grow up near each other. So really, it was probably only one of them that super hit. And the other ones were just like, well, we're here, so we'll be buddies with them, such as John Hancock and John Adams. Am I wrong?
No, it's just like, you're not wrong. I feel like it's when some super historically important shit is going down in one region, all the dudes that had any kind of influence or wealth or anything like that in that region, not all of them, but like, it stands to reason they're all going to come together and be noteworthy.
Right, but they're all from,
so
but it's just like weird. Well, it's not weird, but it's just like, it's unfortunate for everybody that was really smart that lived in Oregon at the time.
Was we doing Oregon yet? I don't think we were doing Oregon yet.
Okay, Florida.
We might have been doing Florida. I think Spain was still doing Florida. Maybe.
Well, my point is like everybody from Boston hit. You know what I'm saying? And like, there was probably some other.
Is that how people present it? Everybody from Boston hit.
Well, back
most
then,
of them were Virginians, weren't they?
Well, Ben Franklin was from Boston.
I mean, I know some are from Boston, but I'm saying like a lot of them were Virginians.
Well, regardless, people from Virginia and Boston, those were the only two types of people that hit back in the day. You know what I'm saying? And it was just because, like, that was just all their buddies. Like, there could have been, like, somebody from North Carolina that could have been involved in the revolution, but everybody was just like, no, we good on Boston people. Y'all don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Was there a North Carolina at the time?
I think there was a Carolina. I feel like they weren't. It was just the Carolina.
How'd that go? Like, when there was just one Carolina and then somebody in the middle got pissed and was just like...
Well, I don't know about Carolina, but I know that, like, with West Virginia, and I think somehow the Dakotas, maybe, it was related to slavery.
Yeah, that checks.
With West Virginia, the reason West Virginia exists is because they weren't down with slavery.
That's so wild too, because
it's the most hillbilly place in the world,
right? And
yeah. But see, that's the thing.
Right,
it's all Appalachian mountains and stuff, so they didn't have plantations, they didn't have big farms there because of the topography.
But that should be brought up more. It should be brought up.
East Tennessee was the same way. East Tennessee tried to split off from the rest of Tennessee because they weren't down with the Confederacy and the slavery thing.
And by the way,
but the rest of Tennessee was like, no, that ain't it. And so
it just also goes to show you that, like, everybody goes like, oh, people from the South are for slavery. And it's like, well, if everybody had the landscape for them, they would have been for it too. It's just that they didn't have that.
If the topography or whatever, the outlay of the land was like flipped completely,
the North would have had slaves. It would have been
literally the exact opposite.
Yeah,
of how
exactly.
It played out. Yeah, it's just, yeah. It's money, dog.
What were we talking
and
about?
All the money in the South was in plantations and therefore slaves.
So
I don't know what we were talking about.
Giving the fact that John Hancock was childhood best friends of John Adams, he also, I don't know how this is, while he was on a London business trip, he witnessed the coronation of King George III. Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm.
At that time,
he was sitting there in the back like, he don't.
That's what I'm saying. He don't hit. Like, King George III was
gonna try and make me pay for tea and stamps and everything else, and I ain't gonna do that shit.
They call him the last king of America, right? Like, that's what his...
Yeah, I mean, he was, right?
And he was the last king of America. But, like, it's... I guess me and you can't really fathom the idea of, like, we are over here and you're over there, but we y'all and y'all us, right? Like, we can't really fathom that. But, like, a dude like John Hancock over there watching the coronation of George III, like, do you have any type of modern day equivalent of what that would look like? Because I have no like, I can't even.
No, but when you were talking about Ben Franklin, this actually occurred to me. You were talking about him being in Boston back in the day, and he would go in on the king and stuff. And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, it's wild that, like, that was his king. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That would, like, he was in America, but it wasn't America yet. And it was like the king
that was his king
in Britain. Like, that was his king that he was talking shit about. He just had an ocean separating them. But yeah, it is wild to think about.
No, I don't know. Like, I just don't know, like, a modern day equivalent. Because, like, we all talk shit about the president, but that's such a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like the whole point of a president, like, America is that we should talk shit about the president. But back then, that was just like, you know, very much not the case. He was someone who did like to talk a lot of shit, though, Trae. He was considered a threat to the British because of his political views, in addition to protesting the Stamp Act and the Sugar Act. What fucking was the Sugar Act back then? Because, like, was somebody on the side of sugar don't hit?
I don't know the Sugar Act. I've heard of the Stamp Act. I used to know what it meant, but I don't anymore. It's been too long since 8th grade. But, like, it was all like tariffs, right? It was taxes.
Right.
Taxation without representation. They were taking undue taxes based on these from these things, and people were like, this is bullshit.
Right.
I mean, right? Something like that, wasn't it?
Sure.
Okay.
But, like, so here's what I want to ask you about that. Because you know more about, like, laws and like rules and shit than me.
Okay.
Baby, you do.
Okay.
Because there's like, they'll have like, we have a corn tax, we have a sugar tax. Like, how many ingredients are factored into that? Like, is there like there's a flour tax, there's a saccharin tax, there's a what the fuck ever tax,
a biscuit tax.
I'm just like,
you can't tax me on flour and sugar and butter and then also a biscuit tax. That's not fair. You're getting it two ways.
But not to get political about it on this show.
Is so funny.
But
I don't want to get into politics, but the Stamp Act was some bullshit. I don't like to be political, but taxation
this is
without representation ain't it.
But my point is, no. All of this is like the fundamental parts of being a libertarian, a Tea Party person. Like the Tea Party comes from these fucking people right here, right? And John Hancock and the Tea Party, and what the Tea Party believes in is like, hey, no taxation without representation. And I get that, and I agree with that. Like, hey,
well, I mean, the Tea Party, they had representation.
Okay, but that was their whole thing,
though. They didn't, but they did. I mean, like, if you're from Texas or whatever, like, Texas has representation.
I know that, and that's what fucking is. So this whole libertarian movement is like, no taxation without representation. If you don't represent us, then we shouldn't have to pay money to you. And back then it made sense. But now, right, like they do have representation. It is a thing. But back then, though, like even when they were just like, I'm paying taxes on sugar, but I don't have no representation. It was like, well, the sugar got sent over here. You know what I mean? Like you did get the sugar, right? And all these people that were just like, we should just be able to do whatever the fuck we want. And there shouldn't be no goddamn, like, I don't mean to get weird about it, but at the goddamn core of all of it, it's like what they were screaming for was, we need government, but I'm not going to pay the government for some shit. You know what I'm saying? And then like, that's what I'm asking, was the revolution bullshit?
I don't know enough about it to know. I know that like if you grow up in this country, you're very much taught it from the perspective of it was utterly, completely justified and the founding fathers were correct and all that shit. And I feel like I've heard like the modern day interpretation is more like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it was the right thing for America to become independent from Great Britain. So they weren't entirely wrong. But having said that, a lot of that shit they were on about wasn't really that unjust to the way they were talking about it. It's sort of how I've heard it presented recently. But
about people's, but if you don't like it, leave. It's just like, this is what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't talk about it in detail, but I've heard it presented that way.
Well, again, I don't want to get political, but now that we're like way further back from the founding fathers, like I look at it and I go, I mean, England had a pretty good claim to the shoot you for doing this bullshit thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that gets me back to this, Trae. So John Hancock was a smuggler, right? So
Onion Knight.
He was accused of smuggling, right? He was riding on pirate ships and shit, and just like popping into port towns and just being like, y'all got some stuff? It's funny you say that because I wanted some stuff, right? So I'm going to holler at you. I'm going to get in there and get your stuff. And then he would come back, bring it to Boston and shit like that. They would put like fucking tariffs on it, which like didn't hit for him because he was like, why should I have to pay tariffs on the things that I stole? This is bullshit, right? And then John Hancock had a bunch of people that were working for him. They were like his little like pirate minions or whatever. And one of them told on him. And he was just like, wait, what the fuck? And so they killed him, of course. And they were just like, you can't be doing that. And he was like, he was dead, of course.
He ain't nobody snitches.
And
what happened?
That is where the term,
it's like we ain't even been in stitches yet.
That is where the term snitches get stitches comes from. John Hancock killed this motherfucker. And somebody was like, he can't just be killing a motherfucker for telling stuff. And they were like, he's a snitch. And they were like, what are you talking about? And he goes, snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. So, Trae, as much as John Hancock is famous for his signature, his legacy still lives on to this day after he passed away on October 8th, 1793, which is, you do the math on the revolution.
What?
1793 minus 1776.
17 years, right?
That's only 17 years?
1793?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, that's when he died. The date of his burial became a state holiday, and today there is a life insurance company, 6 United States Navy ships, and numerous streets, cities, and counties that all bear his name, in addition to the John Hancock Center in Chicago and the John Hancock Tower, the tallest tower in Boston. All bear his name, even though realistically all he really ever did was just be like, that's big as fuck.
And also killed a dude who talked shit.
And invented the wheel game. Yeah. Okay.
Man, he's a right place, right time motherfucker.
I agree with you.
Hancock. All right. Well, that hits.
Okay.
Okay. We got clearing the airs. Coming up next, make sure to like, share, subscribe, tell your mom and them, leave a review, all that stuff. Right? Yeah. Tell them, Joe.
Do all that stuff.
Enjoy clearing the airs, and we'll see y'all next time.
Enjoy clearing the airs.
See you bye.
See you bye. I was way too high in that episode.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Royalty and rednecks are alike. They both like cutting and picking fights. Biscuits and baked beans where they don't belong. Sit on down with Corey and Trae and learn some fancy shit today. We'll laugh a little even when they're wrong. They'll take you to a magical place where if you call someone a cut, nobody cares. They keep it debonair at Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs. Puttin On Airs.
Well, hey there, Airheads. It's time for the second post-Russ departure of clearing the airs. So, yeah, I think we got a couple more eps where Russ was here. Then we'll be transitioning to that slightly new format in the future, and y'all will see how that goes. But we're going to keep having fun, HO.
Oh, man, it's going to be great. You know, as I said in the last episode, different don't mean worse. It just means different. So we got some... I got some cool ideas that I think we can implement now that we're going to be remote for a while. So we're going to try to gussy it up as good as we can. But we're excited to be here, and we thank y'all for liking and downloading and subscribing. We appreciate that. I noticed this week that our views were actually up on YouTube for the week, Trae. So I don't know what we did different, but we appreciate y'all for sharing and all that good stuff.
And if that sounds like he's passive-aggressively implying it was because of Russ leaving, it's not that. Because
no, that's not what I meant.
I know that's not what you meant. I know that's what you meant. I felt like that's how some people might interpret it because, but of course, in this episode, Russ is still there. He hasn't left.
He's still very much alive.
So we don't know what to attribute that to, but it does hit for us. This week we talked about auctions and John Hancock. We just found that out
Hancock
before we started recording this. Neither of us has actually listened to it, so who knows what kind of wild shit we said.
Yeah. And not only that, I didn't even remember having done an episode on John Hancock, so that could get real rough. You didn't remember?
I do. When you said John Hancock, I was like, oh, right, he did cover John Hancock, but I had totally forgotten that you had. I mean, I guess to be fair, I had totally forgotten that I had done auctions too until it came up, and then I remembered it. So,
that was probably like, if I had to guess, this would have been like 4th episode of the day type material.
Yeah, probably.
Because we're the
getting
first
down
thing
to the
I
end
clicked.
now.
Yeah, right. The first thing I clicked through was me screaming about being bald, so I must have been really tore up.
I remember I vaguely remember that too. We were talking about the princes, or like William and Harry or something. And I was going to say something about William being bald or something. And it just really set you off and derailed the whole thing, as I recall it, with you screaming about baldness. That's how I remember
I'm a wee bit of a sensitive lad.
Aye.
Yeah,
well, I don't really have much else to say or contribute to this part of the show this week. I didn't listen to the episode, barely remember it. I don't know what to say or do.
And I don't know if a lot of people have already made this connection in their brain, but once we get past this batch of episodes, Clearing the Airs is actually going to be a lot different, because we will have literally just done the episode, so there won't be as much of a need for it in the sense that we've been doing it. But obviously, we're still going to be talking our Airmail and all that good stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Matter of fact, it might let us be able to do more Airmail. Fuck, I don't know. But I do like doing the postscript.
Basically what you're saying, and you're right, is that Airmail will continue, but Clearing the Airs, its days are numbered. Because you're right, because doing it the way we're going to be doing it, it defeats the purpose of this whole segment. This whole segment was supposed to be... It's funny because we have self-defeated the purpose of this segment every week for weeks now, I would argue, because ostensibly the purpose of this segment was supposed to be so we could like revisit the wild shit we said months ago while batch recording, and then give, any kind of disclaimer or whatever now, and we just hardly ever do that anyway. But don't worry, the Airmail will continue.
To be fair, though, a lot of Airmail is people telling us how wrong we were, which is sort of clearing the air in a way.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It all works. But hey, we might even come up with a whole new thing in lieu of it. But anyways, I'm kind of excited about knowing what we were talking about. That's going to really hit for me.
Me too.
Speaking of Airmail, I got some here for you. Subject line: Blazing Saddles joke. I didn't even pre-screen this email. I just saw Blazing Saddles joke, and I knew I wanted to read it. Hey guys, hearing Corey talk about Blazing Saddles a little while back reminded me of a story that could possibly be the longest hang time for any joke. In winter of 2009, an uncle of mine was driving my parents to catch a flight, and somewhere along the line began discussing Mel Brooks movies. There are a lot of Mel Brooks fans in my family, and I've seen Blazing Saddles more times than I can count. Between my dad and I'm sure we can quote the entire movie. So as the three of them were in the car, they started rattling off lines from the movie. At one point, one of my parents threw out the line Corey referenced, a Laurel and Hardy handshake. At this moment, the penny that had been hanging in the air since 1973 finally dropped from my uncle. This was in December of 2009, meaning that joke took 36 years to land. Since then, that line carries extra weight for my family and I laugh a little harder hearing it. I dig what y'all do and have been following the Skuniverse since there was just one podcast. Rest in peace, Bubba Shot the podcast. Thanks for the laughs and keep on keeping on. Tim from Canal, Winchester, Ohio.
Thank you, Tim. That's great because I love it when that shit happens. I've had that happen to me, and I'm sitting here trying desperately to think of an example, and I'm coming up blank. But when you I've definitely had things occur to me or whatever where I was like, oh my God, my whole life I never knew that's what that was or that's what that meant or whatever. One of them was speaking of Bubba Shot the podcast, Seminole Wind. Alligators in the dark is what I thought it said. This is not as good as what Tim just said, but apparently it's the alligator and the gar. He's just naming aquatic creatures. So shit like that, where it's where you've either missed something or misinterpreted something your whole life, and then the light finally click, the light bulb clicks, or whatever the fucking metaphor is. It's always
this
cool
particular Blazing Saddles joke. I mean, it happened to me exactly that way. It didn't take me 36 years, but I saw that movie so much when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I didn't know who the fuck Laurel and Hardy were, or if I'd probably seen it, but I did. But then when I got a little bit older and I was, doing comedy, and so I was learning about the history of comedy and stuff, I heard it and I was like, holy shit. Like, and it was really cool for me because I was like, yay, a new joke. That's now a new joke for me, a new part of Blazing Saddles that didn't hit before.
Yeah, does hit. Thanks, Tim.
This subject line here, hey, CHO, you dumbass, / Freemasons. Now, the reason that this says, hey, CHO, you dumb, do you know why this is?
Didn't you cue them up to do that or something? You said to send it like that or something like that?
Yes. Yeah, somebody had this person, Cody McPherson, had sent an email and I didn't read it on Airmail. And I think that they thought like that means I was ignoring it. And I was like, send it back with this header. But guys, listen, we can only read so many and I just scanned through. So I swear to you, like I want to read them all. It's just that it just doesn't happen every time. But if you do want it to get my attention, subject line, hey, CHO, you dumbass. If you've sent one before and want it read, I'll try my best.
You know how many of those you're going to get now? Probably
so many.
Like every goddamn
and it's going to completely defeat the purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cody says, hey, Airheads, I'm currently listening to the latest episode on clubs and Aristotle, and I have some bad news for Corey. I once tried to join the Freemasons and was rejected. It was a pretty easy process. I just looked up my local chapter and emailed the leader / president or whatever he was called. He emailed me back pretty quickly with the requirements, and this is where my problem and Corey's problem lies. You have to believe in a higher power / God. They don't care what religion you are, supposedly, but you have to believe in at least a higher power. The guy was really nice and apologetic about the situation, but ultimately wouldn't let me go any further since I'm an atheist. Hell, I even said, what if I say that aliens are a higher form of life and I believe in them? And he said it don't count. LOL. Anyway, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I love the show and tell anyone who will listen about it. I've gotten 2 or 3 of my friends and even my wife listening, and you guys are one of her first podcasts. She even has a subject idea for the Venn diagram of trashy people and fancy people. Christmas lights. Thanks for all the laughs. See ya. Love you. Bye. Love Cody. Love Cody. P.S. We really need you guys to come back to North Carolina for well-read comedy.
Okay. A couple things. First of all, it's wild. I don't remember what I ended up doing instead. So this is what always happens. What did I? Oh, for Christmas, we just kind of talked about Christmas, but
yeah,
we had gotten a previous recommendation from Utah Will, another Airhead, to do Christmas lights. So apparently people demand it, but it's probably going to have to wait a year at least because, you know, I want to be thematic and seasonal with it. But I like the suggestion. And then I get maybe I didn't. I don't know if my brain is bullshitting me right now, but I either, while reading about the clubs and the Freemasons and stuff, I either found what he said and didn't say it on the episode, which wouldn't surprise me because I forget to say shit all the time, or he's just reminded me that I had been told that by my Freemason buddy years ago. But I definitely had heard that before, that they require you to believe in something, some kind of higher power.
Well, I do believe in something. You know, I've always said that. Like, I just don't believe in any biblical type God. Like, I do sort of believe that, like, there's something out there, but I just don't attribute it to any type of religion that man has ever created. Trae, have always told you, I feel that we are all connected through vibrations and that we are all God. So my higher power is humanity.
Hits.
Does hit. For this one, I do try my best. Not if someone got one on the week before, I try to like skip them and lose somebody else. But just based on the subject line alone, I had no choice but to respond to our final email here with the subject line, Black Queer Redneck Part 2, My Experiences with Dixie Outfitters.
My God.
Hey, guys. Yeah. Hey, guys, it's me, David, again. First of all, I would like to thank you for reading my last email. Second, I would like to clarify, by queer, I mean I'm pansexual or bi with extra steps. Anyway, I wrote to tell you about my experiences with the company Dixie Outfitters. Growing up in the mostly white town of Whitmere and going to Whitmere High School, a lot of white kids at my school regularly wore Dixie Outfitter shirts and hats. which, easy to say, made most of the black students feel uneasy. Also made us feel discriminated against, as my school banned the Jeezy the Snowman shirt and banned a black substitute from wearing a Malcolm X shirt. Jesus Christ.
Lord.
And I personally got accused of hating white people because I wore a Black Panther Party shirt. I was met with, the Black Panthers were racist and wanted to kill white people, to which I replied, no, they didn't. They just wanted to protect the black community. Now, the Klan and basically any other group that waves the rebel flag basically wants me dead. Only to be met with the heritage not hate argument, and considering there was a KKK supply store, Jesus, 2 towns over that sold the shirts, I found that hard to believe. Anyway, the funny thing is that a lot of rednecks who wore such shirts and such were secretly being cucked by half the black dudes on the football team. Also, we're being cucked by half the black dudes on the football team. Also, my high school friend Sissy, against my advice, got a Confederate Tinkerbell tattooed and is now married to a black man with 2 black sons, and I would love to hear her explain that. In high school, her mama was a dumbass. Anyway, keep doing what y'all are doing. Love, David. P.S. Y'all should do a Venn diagram on bikers.
Okay.
I would say motorcycles, and then the fancy... There's fancy bicycling folk. You know, I can see it.
Okay, I dig it. So,
I did not see that email coming, by the way. I did not pre-screen that one either. That was great.
A couple things in response to that. If David listens to Well Read, he's going to hear me talk about how I was a dumbass in high school this week, because I was talking about all the Confederate flags I found in my childhood home as I was cleaning it out. But hey, we all evolve and grow. I never really fucked with Dixie Outfitters, though, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that it was because of distaste for the flag. I hadn't developed distaste for the flag yet. That came a little later. But I did finally arrive there. But also, for the record, the other thing I was going to say is they actually, I don't... David said something about Jeezy, which makes him think he's a little bit younger than me, because he was talking about high school. Jeezy wasn't out yet when I was in high school. So that makes me think it was a little bit more recently than my high school experience. But when I was in high school, Dixie Outfitters was actually banned by my school system, and you weren't allowed to wear it. Yeah, and it was a big fucking deal, shocking. Too. Dude, yeah,
I bet.
The rednecks were not happy about it, but yeah, you weren't allowed to wear the Stars and Bars or a Dixie Outfitter shirt or anything in my high school.
Well, I applaud.
They had a bunch of other. Well, you know, I guess I've said, like, we have an actual black community and black kids there, but of course, it sounds like he did too, and it sounds like his hometown didn't give a fuck. But they had plenty of other rules. They also, like, they were trying to be actually equitable, I guess, because you also weren't allowed to wear baggy pants. You know what I mean? They had they had those rules too, but in addition, they banned Dixie Outfitters. I guess just trying to be even-handed. I don't know, but yeah, if you look, as we pointed out, you look into what Dixie Outfitters is doing today. Phew-wee. So rough,
not good stuff.
Stupid, wild shit.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, hey, that's all the airmail I have. We'd like to thank the Airheads out there for being with us, for liking, for downloading, and from the sound of these emails, telling all your friends, because I do think that is the best way that you can support us, because if you like something, it probably stands to reason that your friends and you have similar interests, so tell them some bitches about it. And stay fancy, motherfuckers.
You.